Hello guys, so today I'm going to talk about why Salesforce mandated PKCE flow, OAuth flow for all of its external client apps. So it is a mandatory requirement now. Uh, if you are using Salesforce APIs to connect to any content from Salesforce, you have to mandatorily use PKCE. So that is the first part. Second part, I will talk about why Salesforce mandated it. So this is the important to understand. I mean, this is the most important part why you should why Salesforce implemented this. So as a developer, you should know this. All right. And third part of this video will be focusing on the demo. Basically, I have a local setup where I have created a app where user connects to Salesforce via the OAuth flow using PKCE with PKCE enabled. So I will show you the setup on the Salesforce, how you can connect your app using PKCE, and also I will walk you through the code. Okay. So that is the agenda of the video. So let me shorten my screen. I will talk first about the introduction part. Let me show you this guide from Salesforce, which is this is the mandatory guide which all of its app exchange partners they have to follow. Okay. Secure your connected apps and external client apps. This requirement, these requirements apply to any connected app or external client app that is included or used in connection with a partner application. Okay. And starting in the Spring 26 release, you can't create new connected apps. Use ECAs instead, external client apps instead. Okay. So here is the main thing which I was talking about. Partners must enable PKCE in the OAuth settings of their Salesforce connected apps and ECAs. Okay. Okay, so if you have a external client app, then in the OAuth settings you must enable PKCE. It is not optional anymore, regardless of whether the client is public or confidential. Okay. So historically, many of us skipped PKC when building server-side confidential web apps because we already had a client secret. So it was optional, right? And instead we relied on state to secure the authorization code. But state is an optional thing, right? But PKC it is now mandatory. So the big question is, why did Salesforce force PKC even on backend apps? Is it just a red tape, or is there a real security threat here? Okay, so that is the main thing which I am going to talk about, the why part. Okay, so I listed these three reasons. First is identity blindness. See, Salesforce has no way of knowing whether your app is a purely secure backend or not. If it is purely secure backend, then it is good for you, but Salesforce doesn't know, right? Some people they might be running hybrid apps, and some of them they might be unknowingly leaking their secret, client secret, in a React single page app or mobile client. So by mandating PKC across the board, Salesforce enforces a baseline security floor for every integration. Okay. Reason number two, I think this is interesting one. See, authorization code injection, data harvesting attack. So basically, what it talks about is, suppose there is an attacker Eve, and there is a user, important user, uh, and both of them, they can connect to your app, and using your app they can connect to the Salesforce accounts. Okay, so Eve has a Salesforce account, Alice has a Salesforce account. Both of them can connect to their accounts using your app. So they basically connect using the auth flow which your app implements for these two users. Now if Eve is an attacker and somehow maybe via cross-site scripting, suppose Eve generates a valid auth code. Auth code is the authorization code, which is the first code. Uh, and this authorization code, it gets used to generate the access token. So that authorization server of the Salesforce, it verifies the auth code and then generates the access token for the user, right? So suppose Eve generated a valid auth code, but somehow it stopped. She stopped at this point and injected her own auth code into the Alice. Okay, Alice's UI, and made her click on some link which carried Eve's auth code, and made Alice to submit it to the backend for fetching the access token. So this can be done using cross-site scripting. Now because Alice, your app has logged in Alice, so there will be a cookie, there will be a session where your app will verify that okay, it is Alice who is logged in, and it is Alice who is submitting the authorization code. So your app will simply trust it, and from backend, client secret, client ID, and everything else needed, it will be get sent to the Salesforce server, authorization server, and Salesforce authorization server, it will generate the access token, but access token will be generated for the Eve. Okay, so using that access token, Alice is basically able to connect to Eve's account, Eve's Salesforce account, but Alice doesn't know it, maybe. Okay, and suppose the action which Alice is performing through your app is maybe submitting some important documents, or maybe business secrets on her account, and it is being done via your app. So it those documents, they will get submitted to actually Eve's account on Salesforce, and thus Eve basically stole the secrets from Alice using your app. So that is the uh, danger here, right? Without PKCE, Alice ends up logged into Eve's Salesforce org, unwittingly or unknowingly uploading sensitive business data straight into Eve's database. Now, with PKCE, this can be stopped. See how. Eve, in the first step, Eve has to generate a valid auth code, right? And Eve can do it only using her own PKCE validation, PKCE validation, right? So PKCE validation has basically two, you can say, two things which we using which Salesforce verifies that it is you only who is getting the access token for the auth code. So in the first part, when you are trying to generate an auth code, you have to send a code challenge to Salesforce, right? And in the second part, when this auth code gets used for getting the access token, then you have to send the code verifier using which your code challenge was generated. Okay, so code verifier has to be sent, and if the code verifier uh, and the code challenge, which is basically a hash of your code verifier. If they don't match, then Salesforce simply rejects it. Okay. And since code verifier and code challenge, they cannot be stolen, right? Because code verifier is a random key basically, which gets generated in your backend and can be stored in the session, user session, which is encrypted. Basically, all the session info, it lives in the backend. Only session cookie gets sent to the front end, and if you use the HTTPS cookies, then it cannot be stolen. It cannot be basically used by anyone. So this way, your code verifier and your code challenge, they are secure. So when Eve generates the auth code, it will be generated using Eve's code challenge, and Salesforce will issue the auth code for Eve for that particular code challenge. Now, if even if Eve injects her auth code into Alice's web UI and makes Alice submit it to the backend, basically your app, and your backend will not know that it is Eve's code. Okay, it will treat as if it is coming from Alice, and your backend will submit the request to the Salesforce. Now Salesforce will detect it, okay, that it is someone else's, it is someone else for whom the auth code was generated and not for the Alice, and hence it will reject the request and no access token will be generated. So that is the security here, okay, which Salesforce is trying to enforce. And third reason is provider enforced security. Unlike the state parameter, see this scenario, it can be secured if we use the state parameter securely, but this implementation of state parameter, it relies totally on the developers, right? And Salesforce doesn't know whether you have done it or not. So on the other hand, PKCE is cryptographically verified directly on Salesforce servers. Okay, so basically it is enforced security. So that is the reason why Salesforce has mandated it. So now let us come to the second part of the video, and I will walk you through the setup. Okay, Salesforce connected app setup. Okay, so the first thing is you have to be logged in as an admin, and you have to go to the setup from here, setup. And once you are on this setup page, right now I am on the setup only. You can type here app managers, okay, app manager, sorry, and go to external client manager, client app manager. Okay, and from here, suppose you are you want to connect your application. Your application name can be anything. Suppose my external app, and then you can provide your email here. You can put in all the information here. I will skip it. I'm just walking you through it. And this is the important part. You have to enable auth, and you have to put a callback URL here. Okay, callback URL will be the URL at which Salesforce will redirect the user for redirect user, and it will send the authorization code in the with this redirect URL as a parameter. Okay, and here you can choose either full access, or you can choose selected accesses here. Okay, so let us not worry about this for now. And this is the important part. You have to understand this flow enablement. First option is enable client credential flow. When we talk about client credential flow, this flow doesn't involve the UI. This flow doesn't involve the authorization code. So if you enable this flow, then it, I think PKCE, I mean in the past, uh, there will be PKCE is, I mean if you enable PKCE or not enable it, it doesn't change much. But since Salesforce has mandated it, so still you have to check this one. Require proof key for code exchange extension for supported authorization flows. But if you click this one, enable authorization code and credential flows. So this one, authorization code, this gets generated for the UI apps. Obviously, it can be generated from backend also, only in the backend flow also. But all the UI flows, they need this one. Okay, and for this one, it totally makes sense to check this. Okay, it is mandatory and it is recommended also. I mean, you in the past, even in the past, it is recommended. Okay, so this becomes really necessary. So just if you need this, you can check this, but video is about this particular flow here, authorization code and credential flow, and you have to check this one. Okay, you can check these two so here, and then you create the app, this config for your app, put all the information and just check all these points here. Require user credential in the post body for authorization code and credential flow. If you check this one, then your app must use post request, okay, and not the uh, get request. So that is the what this check is about. Okay, so once you create your app, then your app will get listed here. Okay, your app config, and if you click on this one here, next thing is yeah, you go here all settings, and if you click on this consumer key and secret, if you click on this, then it will show you your client ID and client secret. So those two are the most important things, and you have to save the client secret very securely, okay, because they gets used for connecting your app basically. So that is how you create your app config here. And if you check my application, I have given it a name, IT Yoda PKCE. Basically I wanted to type it PKCE, but somehow I made an mistake. And there will be a backend, callback URL. So this is my backend URI, HTTP localhost 5005 here. So you have to make sure that you use this callback URL as your redirect URI. Let me show you. So yeah, and by the way, if you copy this one, it doesn't matter because I will delete this by the time this video goes live. But yeah, here is your my redirect URI, which gets used in my server.js file. So this is a very small backend app. I have created a Node Express app here, app, and I am using course here. So this is my front end URI. Okay, my front end will be running at 3003 port. So make sure if you are running your applications locally and without nginx, then you are using course, then you give the your you whitelist it basically. Okay, then I am initializing my session here and initializing the cookie. I am passing HTTPS true so that my session it is secure, and any cookie which I set will be HTTPS only. Okay, and yeah. Next, next is so let me take you to the routes here. Okay, so app.get API auth login. So this URI will be used for Salesforce login. Okay, so when user tries to log in using our front-end UI, let me show you the front-end here. So this is a very, single button app here, and this button, when I click on this, uh, once again, then this API gets called, and what I'm doing here is I am generating a code verifier. I am generating a code verifier using crypto. Any random 32 bytes verifier will be generated, and it will be encoded using base64 URL encode. Okay, so this is the code verifier, and then using this code verifier I will generate a code challenge. So this code verifier, it gets basically hashed using same crypto. I am going to hash it using SHA 256 algorithm. Okay, I am hashing it and encoding it using base64 URL encoder. Okay, so this way my code challenge gets generated. So you see what is happening. Code verifier is a any random string, then it is getting hashed. Okay, and you know that an hash string, it cannot be converted back to its original string, right? So this code challenge is the challenge which I am going to send to the Salesforce while sending the request for code, authorization code. Okay, so this is the URL provided by Salesforce for giving me a authorization code. Okay, so obviously end user using the end user credentials only, this request will be sent. Okay, and I am passing my redirect URI, same redirect URI which I have put in the settings here, callback URL. Okay, so it is very important that it is same which gets sent from here, and you send the client ID only, no client secret is needed here. Okay, never send the client secret using this, because we will use the response dot redirect method here. So when front end user clicks that button, this API gets triggered, and it will, as a response, it will redirect the end user to this particular API of Salesforce. So because it is redirection happens on the Chrome window, browser window, so all this gets recorded in the history of the browser, and never put your secret here. Okay, so that is the main thing you must understand. Okay, so this is the first API, and once Salesforce processes your request from here uh, on this API, as a response, what it does is it redirects your same browser window to this particular redirect UI, which is your auth callback. In my case, this is the API which will get called, but through your browser window. So basically, even this API call which gets made after redirection, it also gets recorded in the browser history. And this redirection made by Salesforce along with this API, in its URL parameter, it will send back the code, authorization code. Okay, so even authorization code, it gets recorded in your browser history, right? Okay, so and when the request reaches this backend, it gets processed here. It fetches the code from request query. Okay, request query, and this code will be sent now to the main API, token API, which gives us the access token. So this is the Salesforce API at which we will send a post request here. Okay. So if you see here, yeah, here it was a redirection. So it is a GET request. If you check this, we are creating the URL parameters here and we are sending response.redirect. So this is a GET request. But access token request, it always has to be a post request. Make sure it is a post request. And because you will be sending the client secret here, also you will be sending the code verifier here. With the GET request, you send only the code challenge, and now for getting the access token, you have to send the code verifier. Okay, and code verifier we have already stored in our request session. Okay, when did we store it? We stored it here only. Request session code verifier when this login request was made, right? So we are appending everything to the parameters here, code and code verifier and also client secret. So everything gets sent to the token API, and yeah, now we will store the access token into the session, okay, from the response to data. And then we will redirect the user to whatever page the user was trying to access. Okay, so this is the whole process, and this is an API which we have created for fetching the Salesforce cases. So this is a SOQL query, basically Salesforce object query language. Okay, specific to Salesforce, but very similar to, I would say, MySQL. Okay, not very similar, but similar. Yeah. And this is the query URL for fetching the data for various objects, and in our case we are fetching a case. Okay, okay, so this is the backend here, you can see, and I am just listening on port 5005. And let me walk you through the front end code. So this is a React app, only single page app. So this is my app component, and I am using a cases and set cases here. Use state here, basically React hook, and is authenticated set is authenticated. Okay, and then loading, set loading. Okay, these are all needed for front end user experience, and obviously it's a state which tells us whether user got successfully logged in or not. And use effect, this is the top level, I mean, without any dependency in the dependency array. So it will check if user is authenticated or not. If it is, then true, and it will fetch the cases. Okay, this is handle login function. So this is our button here, connect to Salesforce, and its on click function is the handle login, which what it does is it changes the window location to this login API. This is our backend API. Okay, so and so this is the point where your auth flow gets triggered, right? And as you see, we are not storing hard coding, any secret, any code verifier, code challenge, anything. We are not storing anything here, not even client UID. Okay, client UID is generally not a very secret thing. It can be public, but we are not storing anything here. We are storing everything either in request session, or in the backend. Okay, and this is the fetch cases function which will be used by your that use effect. Okay, so this is a very simple app here. So let me now give the front end demo or our application demo here. And because we are developers, so let me just keep it open here, network tab. So here I am triggering the auth flow. So I got redirected, and because I was already logged in actually in Salesforce, so what happened is basically uh, it called my login API, and I already had allowed the Salesforce to give this application authority to fetch data on my stat. So it simply uh, sent back the access token. Okay, and you can see my cases from Salesforce are now visible to me on my UI. Okay, so that is how the PKCE flow works. So I hope you got some value from this video, and I know I am a new in this YouTube video creation thing, and my talking is not very much smooth. But I create videos so that I myself have some practice in speaking, and also to provide some value to my viewers. So I hope this video was helpful. If you think it was helpful, then please hit the like button, and sure, you can subscribe for future videos. Okay, and if you have any particular topic on which you want me to create videos on, then please let me know in the comment section. Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you, take care, bye bye.